Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about social media, because I kind of touched on it in one of my kind of dating videos, where it was like, an approach to online dating has to be treating it like a form of social media. But the thing is, I was like, there are lots of different types of social media, and I kind of wanted to maybe break this down a bit, because also nowadays we are so dependent on social media. Even someone like me now using YouTube and using Facebook an awful lot to communicate with my friends and stuff like that, more so than just a phone or a text message. It's become a very in kind of focal point in our lives these days. And the thing is, I still feel like, yes, we for dating and for using online dating and sites like that, yes, we need to move towards a kind of more level-headed approach to it, so that it's not just a meat market. But we'll get onto that later again. But I was thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, we also have to take this same kind of level-headed approach to other social media, because I might go, oh yeah, we need to treat it like other social media, but there are people whose livelihoods are entirely dependent on social media, including YouTube. Although I feel YouTube is a bit of an odd one, considering that it's there for, yes, people to just put up videos and discuss things, but also there for businesses, and it's not necessarily as wholly personal as, say, a Facebook profile with your name on it and all of your particulars. Um, and so as a result, I wanted to kind of go in and take a look at these different kinds of social media and just kind of put my ideas out on each, because, again, these are becoming incredibly important parts of our lives. They are incredibly good tools, but also, there are studies that are coming out saying that the more you use Facebook, the more kind of depressed you get, just because you're always comparing, you're always trying to put forward some kind of front on there, just to kind of fit in with everything else, the stream of information that's going by every day. Um, and this is why you get older people who aren't as used to using it, who get hooked on it, often then regretting it, because they say things that they haven't meant, or they expose themselves in ways that they didn't mean to, and so on and so forth. Whilst amongst younger people, there's not necessarily as much, because we have a greater understanding of how this works a bit more. But at the same time, there are an awful lot more young people who are involved in social media and using social media for all manner of different things, and as a result, they're the ones who are most affected by the kind of increase in becoming depressed as a result of seeing this flow of stuff go by, especially when they're very, very young and still kind of forming and kind of building themselves up into who they want to be, and their self-esteem is taking knocks as they are watching all of their friends put forward this supposedly best version of themselves. And I didn't have any kind of social media until I was effectively an adult. So it's something that I've always been able to kind of go, okay, well, I'm going to take this with a pinch of salt in various ways. But so let's get into it. We've got a couple to kind of kick off with for the moment. We've got things like Facebook and LinkedIn that both use very similar kind of profile plus messenger kind of formats, I guess, going on. And obviously LinkedIn is very much more a business thing, but it's slowly trying to expand. It's trying to encroach in various places on the more kind of personal social media side, because obviously in business, if you can trust and believe in and build rapport with someone on a very social basis, then you're potentially going to get more business from them, because they trust you, because you're never really truly buying a product, you're buying the person that's selling you the product. And so, with these, my thoughts are, yeah, they are absolutely great tools. There is a reason why I post all of my stuff, all of my video links to Facebook. Why at one point I was trying to see if I could link and kind of just embed the video wholly into Facebook, although that didn't turn out to work as well for me in the long run, and so I just went with the links by themselves. Being able to discuss with friends, put ideas out there and stuff like that on Facebook is maybe not as easy as somewhere like YouTube, where you have a huge amount of traffic every day because of its attention economy focused kind of model. But you still have an awful lot of tools there that are very, very useful. The problem is that then, the number of people that I see putting up almost kind of giving us a live commentary into their life, and with accompanying photos and all manner of other things that are just rolling down their page. And when I was helping hire people in some of my previous jobs, one of the things that we would do when we were like, this random CV's just been dropped in, we're not sure about this, one of the things that we may very well do would look up their Facebook if we weren't too sure about like how legit their CV seemed. Why? Because if they've got a public profile on Facebook, firstly, if they've made it public and they've not kind of locked it off so it's only their friends that can see it and things like that, then it's essentially public domain, and so we're going to be taking a look. There's no expectation of privacy there. And so as a result, we've gone, taken a look, seen what's there, and seen if it's added up. Yeah? For example, things like educational history, and going, okay, well, there seem to be some real inconsistencies in this educational part of this CV. If I go and take a look on Facebook, see if I can find this person, then if they've got their schooling on there, chances are they're not, that any inconsistencies will either be actually consistent between the two, so I won't have anything else to go from, or possibly they will highlight these inconsistencies and I can go, okay, well, something's not right here. We might have to either question this person or just not hire them. There are a lot of things that come out of the younger people that I deal with or have dealt with, whereby there is a huge element of oversharing, and a lot of it comes onto Facebook. A lot of it comes onto to other platforms as well that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But like the oversharing, the removal of boundaries, the even relationships becoming dependent on being Facebook official. It's a complete nonsense. It's a bringing in of the world into some things that are very, very small and kind of specific to you. The world doesn't really have any place, any real reason to be there. But anyway, let's get on to another one, which is Twitter. And I am not a big fan of Twitter for a collection of different reasons. I still use Twitter. As said, all of the links from my videos and occasionally other things that I've done and mentioned have all gone up onto Twitter. My Facebook, my YouTube automatically feeds to both Twitter and Facebook essentially. And so as a result, yes, they are useful communication tools that potentially allow for the reach of what I do on YouTube or how I interact with certain friends who use those platforms. It allows for much, much more breadth in how I can interact with people. It's a good tool for stuff like that, where it's just a case of putting information out there or looking to gain a discourse. Now, what the issues that I kind of have with Twitter, the biggest issue is that it's incredibly reductionist. Yeah, having 140 odd characters to generate any kind of message with any real meaning on something that's worth talking about. You're either going to have to be so concise that you lose half of the meaning of what you're trying to say, or if you're able to put across a message that has meaning, you're not able to put as much in the way of extra context and extra kind of explanation in there that leaves you then still open to attack. This is why I don't care to engage with arguments on Twitter in a lot of ways, simply because, quite frankly, you can't engage in a conversation well enough on Twitter. And you see the Twitter wars that go flying on all over the place between one person and another and so on and so forth. This celebrity said this and then this celebrity responded, and it's a back and forth of angry messages. And it's like, yeah, okay, that might have happened if they had had more to say, if they had been able to say more. But at the same time, being so limited kind of really puts a damper on any meaningful conversation, because the less context there is, the less information there is, the less explanation there is, the less useful kind of talking points there are in any one thing that's said, it really kind of diminishes the entire conversation, because you end up having misunderstanding happen, or someone interpreting something in the wrong way, and then you have that continual flow of negativity from that point onward, as you have this continual back and forth of misunderstandings, of things being said in a very, very blunt way, just to fit in this 140 characters, but then it still comes out as something that's very blunt, very negative, very harsh. And so as a result, it's no surprise to me that we have all these fights that happen on Twitter, or more so than an awful lot of other places, simply because, good God, why? You know, why are we so limited? Why are we trying to prevent ourselves from communicating like properly and effectively? Yes, there is something to be said for being concise, but not at the kind of expense of understanding, building rapport, being kind of useful in explanation. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of Twitter generally. But again, there are lots of people who sit on Twitter, who sit there and throw their messages back and forth, who will retweet things that they have loved from certain people, and then will try and kind of respond to things that they dislike. And you know, I am shocked and bewildered at the extent that some of these arguments go to the extent that you have people again sharing opinions that are so ridiculous in the first place, and so negative, that then more recently we have seen people both in fairness on all social media being taken to court over things that they've said, things that they've shown off. And you know, this is where now again taking that step back and going, it's a tool. I don't need to share everything. I shouldn't share everything. If I see something that's entertaining to me, and I want to share it with someone, or if I have an idea that I want to share with someone, then fine, I'll write it down, I'll send it in a message to someone else, I'll take a picture and save it for later, whatever. It doesn't mean that you need to share everything, it doesn't mean that you need to communicate everything to the rest of the world. In fact, it's probably a really bad idea to do so. But anyway, then we've got another one that has kind of like YouTube been a place where an awful lot of people have made livings from, or made a living from just kind of doing what they were doing on there to begin with, you know, and that's Instagram, with the Instagram models and the people who are using it as a platform, because it's such a visual platform and people are so visual. As a species, we are very visual. We are very focused on our ability to see. And so having a platform that is very, very, I mean, you could take Snapchat and other places as well into this, but Instagram has been the one that's kind of stood out in a lot of ways, just due to the fact that the people who have been able to go onto this platform, you know, generate a following and then move on from that to other things is quite substantial. And so as a result, you know, again though, there's an element here of oversharing or of fakeness, you know, of kind of tangential dishonesty almost, I guess, that really, you know, it doesn't sit well with me, just because again it's putting forward this appearance of being attractive, of having this great life, of oversharing all kinds of things, you know, be it what's on the food on your plate, or be it the wonderful sunset that you've gone and seen, that you've now taken, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes posing for, you know, or whatever else. You know, there's that element to it, and it's an element that especially a lot of younger people who are very entrenched in using this platform for social media, you know, they get stuck into it, they lose perspective, and they don't necessarily realize that some of these pictures are great. Some of these people look amazing. Some of the things that they are trying to sell because of the people that have approached them with sponsorships and things like that, they potentially, some of them are great products, but at the same time, it's this rolling cycle of kind of not really being genuine, following through to being kind of genuinely dishonest. There's a slight difference between going like, there was this wonderful sunset, and I was in the picture because I wanted to make, I wanted to show off a little bit, but at the same time, it did take me maybe 3 or 4 attempts at the picture to get the right picture. That's maybe not being completely genuine, but at the same time, there was a great sunset. They want to share it with people. Fair enough. And then, at the other end of things, you have very much the kind of, I'm a celebrity on this platform. I've come along and I'm sharing this product with you guys because, I've been asked to do so by someone who's giving me money and the product. But I'm not necessarily going to tell you guys that. It's something that has popped up on other platforms where, you've got the people on YouTube who haven't been disclosing who they've been paid by or who's given them a copy of a game or whatever else, and they've kind of been hit pretty hard by it. Whilst Instagram, we've seen a little bit here and there, but it's another one of these platforms that is very kind of glossing over various things to promote the positive. And I wonder how long it'll be before we see the same kind of crackdown on having to properly announce sponsorships, and then those people who aren't announcing those things being taken to task over it. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch, but again, that's another reason why it's a platform that kind of makes me a little kind of deterred, I would say, from engaging with it kind of properly. And then we've got the form of social media that I think has the biggest impact, but people are often so kind of unwilling to talk about it. And that's one of the reasons why I've done a couple of videos on this form of social media already, and that is online dating with sites like eHarmony, Tinder, Match.com, Plenty of Fish, and so many others that just like fill all of the nooks and crannies of the internet, that cater to as many different people and their tastes as you can possibly imagine. The most infamous one, I think, probably being Christian Mingle, maybe, that's very specialized. But again, with these, they have an impact on some of the most important and substantial relationships and interactions that people are ever likely to have throughout the entire existence that they are a part of. And so as a result, I'm surprised that there is kind of so little discussed about these things and the way that they work, because you're going out there, as I said in my other video, you're going out there alone. You're being kind of put into this kind of meat market situation where you are either being judged or you are judging others, unless you follow my advice from my other video, and like you're coming in as a more level-headed kind of individual, coming in with a decent approach, with a decent set of goals and ideas that you want to achieve by being here, and not having them to be either too specific or too broad. But again, that isn't the majority of people. And so you come into this situation and no one's talking about the potential harm that can be done here, just because you're opening yourself up to so many people, how these sites can really rattle your self-esteem, how if you treat this like other social media to the largest extent and overshare hugely on here, then you are opening yourself to all kinds of other problems. And yet if you remain completely closed off from it and don't engage and kind of sit back, then you're not going to achieve any of the objectives or things that you wanted from this experience from using these sites. And so as a result, especially where some of these try to emulate other apps, where eHarmony has its long profiles that are very similar in various ways to a Facebook profile. Same with Plenty of Fish and Match. Tinder has its profile thing, but it's much more visual, kind of like not necessarily a direct analog for, but very much like a Snapchat or an Instagram, where they are capitalizing on the kind of direct visual kind of pull, draw, focus that humans have on what we see. You've got those kind of people taking advantage. And the other thing that you would that you see is with eHarmony, Plenty of Fish, Match.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them have these logos that are blue, and you have to wonder why. And it's because of the way that they want to market themselves. It's because blue is a color that kind of draws people in. You've got an awful lot of orange and green in these logos and on these sites as well, and it's all compulsive. It's all because we get affected by the colors we see as well. And so both the sites, in terms of the way that they are managed, and the people that create them, they are doing it in such a way as to draw people in, get people engaged, work around people and get them to use their platform for as much as they possibly can, to spend as much time on there as they possibly can. But again, you letting yourself be drawn into that is where problems start, because that's where you start oversharing. That's where you start kind of opening yourself up to things that otherwise might be quite harmful. But anyway, let's get rid of these. And so it does kind of roll into being kind of a really troubling mess of different platforms that prey on different things. You've got the dating apps that kind of cover everything in one way or another, but in regards to the others, you've got YouTube that's very, very open and attractive to people who want to kind of share content and potentially make more of an impact off it. You've got the which is pretty much exactly the reason why I'm making these videos and putting them up. I wanted to reach a larger collective of people, a larger audience that could benefit from the things that I'm experiencing as a coach, as a person, some of the things that I'm able to work around with kind of coaching ideas and methods and things like that I can then bring to you guys. Just because I want to help people, and helping one person at a time, even if it was maybe easier, it wasn't the thing that left me kind of feeling fulfilled. I was able to help that person. Yes, that was amazing, and I loved that to bits. But I wanted to help more people. There were so many more people who were in these same situations that I was dealing with individually, that could learn and grow from the things that I was coming across. And so I wanted to bring it a bit kind of a bit further out into the world than I can manage just by myself without something like this, without a good tool like this. But then, you've got things like Facebook that want to basically run and rule your entire life, be it communication between friends, be it scheduling, be it news, be it everything else that's on your feed. They want to take control of that. And then with Twitter, well, we want to communicate, we want to have our voice heard, we want to engage, and so this allows us to do so in a very concise way, but in a way that also generates more strife and negativity, just due to how limited the communications are in the first place. We've got things like Instagram and Snapchat that are very, very focused on the visual focus that us as a species has on the world around us, and they want to leverage that so that we use their platform, so that we use their apps, so that they can then generate more business for themselves as a result of doing so. And keeping all of that in mind, in closing, there are just a couple of things that I would say are the best way to deal with social media generally. One, don't overshare. If you have a thing, if you have a thought, if you're having a discussion or whatever else, then fine, put it out there. But no one needs to hear every single complaint you have about the world. No one needs to hear every single thought that you have in your head, and no one needs to see every single meal that you put on a plate. In regards to kind of safety online and stuff like that, make sure you're checking your privacy settings. Make sure that you are only showing kind of people that you can trust, and that that you're happy with seeing the things that you are showing. Make sure that your privacy settings are turned up to a level that you actually want, instead of just assuming that default will be fine. Because as I said, if if I was looking into someone who I wasn't sure about with a job, it would potentially be make or break on a job for, from their Facebook profile, if there were inconsistencies that I couldn't justify otherwise. And there are more and more businesses that are doing that are using social media and holding social media against people. Think about the number of people who get caught being, calling in sick when actually on social media they're showing off to everyone, including people that they work with, that they are completely alive, well, and off partying. There are a huge number of things there that kind of, whether you want to just keep yourself protected, or whether you're being an arse and calling in sick to work when you're not sick just because you feel like it, but don't want to get caught. There are a huge number of different things that the privacy settings are important for. And then lastly, as said, these things are tools. Yeah, use them as such. Don't invest in them. Yeah, and I mean emotionally invest in them. Because if you're emotionally investing in something that is completely online and potentially very largely fake, there to manipulate you through the way it's laid out, through the way the colours that are used, and the format generally for the platform, they are there to suck you in. And so be aware of that and don't let it happen, because that's where these studies that have been finding that people are getting more depressed the more social media they use, that's where it's coming from. Yeah, limit yourself or use it for a specific purpose. As said, I use mine for communication with friends. I'm very locked off in regards to my privacy settings, so that only my friends can really see who I am and what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with and all that kind of thing. And then in regards to using it as a tool for business, to allow for more people to see these videos that I'm trying to put together to help people, to allow for even clients to send me bits of information, or for me to arrange things with them so that I can then go and meet them and engage and actually do the thing that they have asked me to do. Use it like that. Don't use it as a way to gain validation or a way to make friends or whatever else. You should be making the friends first and then adding them on Facebook afterwards. It shouldn't be a case of you're randomly making friends on social media. Why? Well, simple, because there's an awful lot of information that people are putting onto social media, including where you live, kind of where you work, what you've done in your life so far. There's an awful lot of information there that I have seen people. I've seen people have their entire profile copied. I actually had a friend of mine have literally their entire profile copied, kind of word for word. And then that person friended me, and I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. I had spoken to that person earlier that day, so I figured that they were just trying to get back in touch again, and maybe something had gone wrong. But they friended me, I accepted them, and then they started talking to me, and they started talking to me about all this other stuff, and they were fishing for information and trying to get me to do what they wanted. So I started asking questions based on the conversation I'd had with them earlier that day. Then I did a little bit of checking when they couldn't answer those questions, and then I reported them and removed them as a friend. Why was I able to do that? Simple, because I had the awareness of the fact that what was going on social media was not just a random happenstance. It wasn't something like that I should just take at face value. It's something to always be suspicious of. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily saying that the people that you are communicating with privately should always be treated with distrust when you are communicating with them. But what I'm saying is the way that people can take advantage of these systems to screw you over, the way that the site is built in and of itself is there to manage and manipulate you. In which case, keep that in mind when using them. Don't overshare. Keep yourself safe. And again, they are amazing tools, and they have already changed the world in so many amazing ways in the very short time that they have actually been around and accessible to the public. But they have been shown to have negative impacts on people, and they have been shown to overstep, or people have been shown to use them to overstep into areas that they really shouldn't. But anyway, Let me know what you guys think, guys. You know, obviously this is going out through social media, so I'll be interested to hear what you guys think, considering we're all obviously using it right now. But again, please let me know what you think, whether you agree with me or not, or if it's a large conversation that maybe we can go into some more. But anyway, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop us a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.